wouldn't believe it, November 19th and it's 71 degrees outside. You know what that means? That means it's time to winterize the bees. I know I did a video a few weeks ago about types of insulation. Since that video, I've gotten quite a few questions about how do I actually winterize my hive, the actual process. And I thought, you know, I'm just getting to the bitter end of that right now and thought maybe I'll shoot a quick video and just basically show you how I wrap my hives, put it on quilt boxes, put on top insulation, and go through that whole process for you. And hopefully the bees aren't too pissy today because they get a little defensive when it's this time of year. They're defending their hives. Been in, let's see, 15 hives in the last couple days. They've all been pretty calm, so let's hope that does the same thing. I will have my smoker going. I'm hoping I don't have to use it, but that's what we got. So let's get at it. So we're gonna be wrapping this hive today, and it's a double deep, and as I've talked before, almost everything I do are single deeps. I've got a couple leftovers, and I know a lot of you out there, probably most of you, are doing double deep hives. So I'm just gonna do it on this hive because it's probably what you're familiar with. I'm still going to wrap it. I didn't say originally, but I said in the title of this video, I'm gonna show you how to wrap, or how I wrap a hive and turn it into a condensing hive for the winter and what that involves. And you're going to find it's very much like what you do with hives that you're ventilating. It's just the fact that you're not putting ventilation in it. So that's the process. And just to kind of guide you through real quick, I'm going to first take off the feeder box, take off the inner cover. We're gonna put the quilt box on. The super goes on top of it. I fill it full of the foam, and we're on our way. So, should always be pretty self-explanatory as we move along, but okay, I'm gonna suit it all up and we're gonna get going, and we're gonna see how these guys are acting today. This hive's been a little pissy before, but we'll see, we'll see. So we're gonna get at it. I'm gonna move pretty quick here because I still have to put quilt boxes on these other 5 hives also, which won't take long, but it's getting a little later in the day than I wanted it to. I'm gonna get my bench, my handy bench, and get all my stuff over here. I love my bench. Okay, cover off. Oh, I don't know if I'm a little bummed about this or not. I put this feed on yesterday thinking that they would take it down today. But they have actually done nothing on it. Maybe they just don't need the food. I don't know, we'll see. But we get this box off. This becomes our insulation box. A little later, we're gonna take the feed off, and we're just gonna set the feed up here out of the way. And then I'm actually going to take the opportunity to scrape while I can without making too much havoc. Okay, I am going to hope I don't need smoke. Let's see how these girls do. Pretty calm, pretty quiet. I'm gonna have to get the bees off of that. You can see this hive's actually doing pretty darn good. They're starting to notice me. I'm gonna put their quilt box on and say, see you in the spring. Okay, and I know what you guys are saying. It's like, if you're doing a condensing hive, Dave, then what are these things on the side? Well, this wasn't. In 2022, I wasn't doing condensing hives. I wasn't fully doing it. I was experimenting with it and still using quilt boxes that had ventilation in them. But again, I've got them taped off on the inside. Okay, so that's on. Now what I need to do is I put this box on. Actually, we're not going to do that. I just realized, because you have to put this foam board in with a super upside down. It just works easier that way. So in this all goes. Hey, and I know the other thing you guys are saying too, it's like, hey Dave, what the heck? You're wearing gloves? It's like, yeah, I am. This time of year, they can be really feisty. They weren't, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. But I'm just not in the mood to get my hands all stung up right now. And this isn't a fine-tuned thing that I need. I'm not handling bees, I'm really just handling big blocks of equipment. Anyways, if you want more information about gloves or the kind of gloves I wear, check out my video on gloves. Did I do that the right side? Maybe it's this side. Is it over here, Evan? I'm not sure. Okay, thanks. Okay. Box goes on top of quilt box. Push down tight. I've got 3 R10s in here, and the quilt box itself, I think, probably rates out probably around another maybe 8, maybe 10. So an R40 on top is way more than I need. It's like wearing a belt with suspenders, you know? You just got yourself covered. But then there's also that same phrase, never trust a man who can't trust his pants. Okay, bees need to be shaken off. I just shake them into the front. And those that don't, we just brush, get them in, because they don't want to spend the winter up there because, well, just don't want to spend the winter up there. Inner cover goes on. Why do I keep the inner cover on? Because that means I don't have to store it. That's why the inner cover stays on. And the top goes on. Actually, the top's not going to go on now as I think about it because I'm going to show you how to put the insulation on. I'm also going to take this smoker and move it back over here because I don't really need it. Insulation. I did a video last March 22nd, and I know that because that's my dad's birthday. And on March 22nd, it was called Winter Beekeeping. I had a little malady, but I also showed how I cut these. So if you want to see how I cut these, you can go back and check that video out. But it's not really complex. I will tell you, I've changed though, and I have a little problem here, but that will all be fixed here in a second because of the bungee cords I use. So 2 pieces, normally they're always together. This isn't a big deal because they're all going to get bungeed. And around the front it goes. If you'll notice that this front piece is cut a little bit shorter, that's so that I don't have issues with it getting covered up in the winter. This piece goes around, check the opening and go, well, that's not what you wanted. This piece goes around the back. We raise everything up, and then we take our bungee, which I make, and I think I've told you about, raise that up, get everything set in place, and voila, there you go. Bottom's covered, top's open. I actually, on this one, I rest it up here, so I never have an issue with it falling in. And now I'm R6 on the side. Just to cover myself, I have secondary pieces that go across the top, just to maintain more of a heat balance in the hive. No, there's nothing up here, but there is insulation that I want to keep and have keep warm. So in order to do that, I put the insulation around. I bungee that. Cover goes on. Tighten that up a little bit up against the hive. Cover, rock, set for the year. That's it. That's how it works. The bees will stay cozy. I'm gonna have to cover that up a little bit. I'll do some tightening up. Oh, I see that. That needs to be flipped around. You don't need to see that, but that's just the basic process. I just want everything tight and everything in place. The one thing I didn't show you is I'm actually gonna go back and where the quilt board meets the box, the top box, I'm gonna put some tape around it just to make sure that's completely sealed. This time of year, there's not a lot out for the bees to collect for propolis, and it's very probable that they won't propolize that space in between there. That just seals it off more so I don't have any air leakage. There you have it. Pretty simple process. If you have not looked into condensing hives, I really encourage you to take a look at it. It's a style of keeping bees in the winter that's gaining a lot of popularity. I have found my bees are stronger. I have found my mite counts are much lower throughout the year because they're so strong. And I'm in the business of making honey, and I will tell you, coming out of the spring, and especially on my single deeps, last year our first market was May the 10th, and I'd pulled over 150 pounds of honey. So I was feeling pretty good about that. That at the time was out of 8 hives. So it tells you just how strong they are at that point. We had a heck of a honey flow the year too. Anyway, so there you have it. Any questions, leave them down in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do. It really helps us out. We're doing everything we can to just keep these videos coming to you so that we can all learn this whole crazy beekeeping thing together. So, as I said before, I want to hurry, get it all done. It's a beautiful day. And there's a back porch up there that's just screaming for me and a glass of bourbon. See you next time. Thanks.